In the grand halls of the Celestial Palace on Nexus Prime, 4 alien princesses lounge on floating cushions, their laughter echoing through the crystalline chamber. Princess Zorelia, her iridescent scales shimmering in the light of 3 suns, wiped a tear from her multifaceted eyes. "Oh, sisters, have you seen the latest transmissions from that backwater planet? What do they call it? Dirt? Earth?" she chuckled, her voice like tinkling bells. Princess Styra, her tentacles swirling in amusement, projected a hologram of Earth's latest space expedition. "Look at their primitive vessels. They still use combustion engines. How quaint." The youngest, Princess Lumi, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with mirth, chimed in. "Did you know they still haven't cured the common cold? We solved that problem eons ago." Only Princess Astra, the eldest, remained silent, her starry eyes focused on the hologram. Something about the determination in the faces of the human astronauts gave her pause. "Sisters," she began, her voice carrying the weight of galaxies, "perhaps we shouldn't be so quick to judge. Remember what Father always says about—" "Oh, spare us the wisdom, Astra," Zorelia interrupted, rolling her eyes. "These humans are barely out of their stone age. They're hardly worth our attention." Axtura nodded in agreement, her tentacles forming complex patterns that translated to laughter in her native language. "Exactly. They'll probably blow themselves up before they even reach their neighboring planet. What do they call it? Mars." As if on cue, a servant entered the chamber, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. "Your Highnesses, I bring urgent news. Your father, King Zulon the Infinite, requests your immediate presence in the throne room." The princesses exchanged glances, their mirth evaporating. It was unusual for their father to summon them so abruptly. They made their way through the winding corridors of the palace, each lost in thought about what this could mean. The throne room was a marvel of alien architecture, its walls shifting and pulsing with living light. King Zulon, a being of pure energy contained within a regal exosuit, hovered above his throne. His voice, when he spoke, seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "My daughters, I have made a decision that will shape the future of our kingdom and perhaps the galaxy itself." The king's form flickered, a sign of strong emotion. "I have chosen my successor." The princesses held their breath. For millennia, they had been groomed to take over the kingdom. Each possessed unique abilities that could serve the empire well. Surely, one of them would be chosen. "The next ruler of our vast empire," King Zulon continued, "will be a human." Silence fell over the throne room, broken only by the soft hum of the palace's energy fields. Then, all at once, the princesses erupted in protest. "Father, you can't be serious," Zorelia exclaimed, her scales flashing in distress. Slara's tentacles writhed in agitation. "A human, but they're so primitive." Lumi's skin had turned a deep blue of shock and disbelief. There must be some mistake. How could a human possibly rule our technologically advanced empire? Only Astra remained calm, her starry eyes fixed on her father. "There must be a reason for this decision, Father. Please explain." King Zulon's form stabilized, and he addressed his daughters with a tone that brooked no argument. "My decision is final. I have observed the humans for centuries, and while they may lack our technological advancements, they possess something far more valuable: potential." He waved a limb, and a hologram of Earth appeared in the center of the throne room. "Look closely, my daughters. See how they persist in the face of adversity, how they innovate with limited resources. Their capacity for growth is unmatched in the galaxy." The princesses watched in silence as images of human achievements flashed before them. Great works of art, feats of engineering, acts of kindness and bravery. "But Father," Lumi ventured, her color shifting to a tentative green, "how can a human rule an empire they know nothing about?" King Zulon's form pulsed with what might have been a chuckle. "They won't be ruling alone, my dear. You 4 will be tasked with guiding and teaching the chosen human. You will be their advisors, their mentors, and their protectors." The princesses exchanged looks of disbelief. Them, advisors to a human. The human I have chosen, King Zalon continued, is unaware of their inheritance. You will travel to Earth and reveal their destiny. You will live among the humans, learn their ways, and prepare your new ruler for the challenges that lie ahead. Zorelia, always quick to speak, found her voice first. But father, surely there must be another way. We know nothing of Earth or its customs. How can we possibly? Enough. King Zalon's voice boomed, causing the very walls of the palace to tremble. My will is set. You will depart for Earth immediately. The future of our empire depends on your success. As the princesses left the throne room, still reeling from the news, they couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Fear, resentment, and buried deep beneath it all, a tiny spark of curiosity. Little did they know that their journey to Earth would not only change the fate of their empire, but would challenge everything they thought they knew about humans, themselves, and the very nature of civilization in the cosmos. As their ship prepared for the long journey to the Sol system, the four princesses gazed out at the swirling galaxies, each lost in thought about the monumental task ahead. Earth, that tiny blue marble they had mocked so often, was about to become the center of their universe. The stage was set for an adventure that would span worlds, challenge preconceptions, and perhaps, just perhaps, bring two vastly different civilizations together in ways no one could have imagined. Jake Foster wiped the sweat from his brow as he locked up his small bookstore in downtown Seattle. It had been another slow day, but he loved the musty smell of old books and the quiet companionship of regular customers. As he turned to leave, a sleek black car pulled up, looking out of place on the rain-slicked street. A tall woman in a crisp suit stepped out, her eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses despite the overcast sky. Mr. Foster, I'm Miss Thorne from Galactic Enterprises. We need to talk. Jake's heart raced. Galactic Enterprises was a mysterious conglomerate that had been buying up tech companies worldwide. What could they want with a struggling bookstore owner? Inside his cramped apartment above the store, Jake listened in disbelief as Miss Thorne explained the situation. Mr. Foster, you've inherited a vast interstellar empire. King Zalon the Infinite has named you his successor. Jake laughed nervously. Is this some kind of joke? Alien kings? Interstellar empires? Come on. Miss Thorne's expression remained impassive. I assure you, Mr. Foster, this is no joke. In fact, your advisors will be arriving shortly. As if on cue, a blinding light filled the room. Jake shielded his eyes, and when he lowered his hand, he found himself face to face with four of the most extraordinary beings he'd ever seen. Princess Zorelia stepped forward, her scales shifting colors in the dim apartment light. So this is the human father chose. How quaint. Jake stumbled backward, knocking over a stack of books. What? Who are you? Princess Zyra's tentacles curled in amusement. We, human, are your new mentors. Try to keep up. Princess Lumi's skin pulsed with a soft blue light, illuminating the room. Oh, look his dwelling. It's so primitive. How charming. Only Princess Astra remained silent, her starry eyes taking in every detail of Jake and his surroundings. Miss Thorne cleared her throat. Mr. Foster, may I present Princesses Zorelia, Zyra, Lumi, and Astra. They will be guiding you in your new role as ruler of the Celestial Empire. Jake's mind reeled. This couldn't be real. And yet, the aliens standing in his living room were undeniably present. He could feel the heat radiating from Lumi's bioluminescent skin, smell the faint ozone scent emanating from Zyra's tentacles. But why me? Jake finally managed to ask. Princess Astra spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the melody of distant stars. Our father, King Zalon, believes that humans possess a unique potential. You, Jake Foster, have been chosen to lead our empire into a new era. Jake shook his head. There must be some mistake. I'm just a bookstore owner. I can barely manage my own finances, let alone an interstellar empire. Zyrelia scoffed. On that, human, we agree. This is clearly a mistake. Miss Thorne interjected smoothly. Mr. Foster, I understand this is a lot to take in, but the decision is final. You are now the heir to the Celestial Empire. These princesses will live here on Earth, teaching you about your new role and preparing you for the challenges ahead. Jake looked around his tiny apartment. Live here? But there's barely enough room for me. Lumi giggled, her skin flashing in patterns of amusement. Oh, don't worry about that. We've already arranged more suitable accommodations. Before Jake could protest further, he felt a strange tingling sensation. The world around him blurred, and suddenly, he found himself standing in a vast, luxurious penthouse overlooking the Seattle skyline. Welcome to your new home, Your Highness, Miss Thorne said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Jake wandered through the penthouse in a daze, taking in the sleek, futuristic furniture and the breathtaking view. The princesses followed, each reacting differently to their new surroundings. Zyrelia wrinkled her nose. Well, it's an improvement over that hovel, I suppose, but it's still so Earth-like. Dexterous tentacles explored the various gadgets and devices scattered throughout the penthouse. Some of this technology isn't completely worthless. Perhaps there's hope for you yet, human. Lumi bounced excitedly from room to room, her skin changing colors to match the decor. Oh, this is fun. Look, sisters, they have a water recycling unit. How clever. Astra remained quiet, her gaze fixed on Jake. She seemed to be studying him, assessing his potential. As the reality of his situation began to sink in, Jake felt a mix of emotions washing over him. Fear, excitement, disbelief, and underneath it all, a growing sense of determination. He might not understand why he'd been chosen, but he was going to do his best to live up to this incredible responsibility. All right, he said, turning to face the princesses. Where do we start? Zyrelia smirked. Oh, we have so much to teach you, human. Let's begin with the basics of interstellar diplomacy, shall we? And so began Jake Foster's journey from humble bookstore owner to heir of an alien empire. As the princesses launched into their first lesson, Jake couldn't help but feel that his life would never be the same again. Little did he know that his greatest challenges and his greatest adventures were yet to come. The Seattle rain pattered against the penthouse windows as Jake Foster stared at the holographic display before him, his brow furrowed in concentration. Princess Satira's tentacles danced impatiently as she explained the intricacies of the Galactic Trade Federation for what felt like the 100th time. No, Zyra exclaimed, her frustration evident. The Zorgax Confederation doesn't trade with the Nebula Alliance. How many times must we go over this? Jake rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. I'm sorry, it's just, there are so many alien races to remember, each with their own customs and alliances. It's overwhelming. Princess Zyrelia, lounging on a floating cushion nearby, rolled her multifaceted eyes. Perhaps father was mistaken. This human seems incapable of grasping even the simplest concepts of galactic politics. Hey, Jake protested, his patience wearing thin. I'm doing my best here. A week ago, my biggest concern was whether to order more mystery novels or science fiction. Now I'm supposed to understand the political landscape of an entire galaxy. Princess Lumi, who had been experimenting with Earth cuisine in the kitchen, poked her head into the room. Her skin pulsed with a soft, comforting glow. Don't be too hard on him, sisters. Remember, humans have only just discovered space travel. It's like expecting a newborn Quarzin to recite the cosmic codex. Jake shot Lumi a grateful look. Of all the princesses, she seemed the most understanding of his struggles. Her endless curiosity about Earth culture had led to some amusing situations, like the time she tried to blend in at a local coffee shop by covering herself in coffee beans. Princess Astra, who had been silently observing as usual, finally spoke up. Perhaps we're approaching this the wrong way. Jake, what do you know best? Jake blinked, surprised by the question. Well, I guess, books, stories. Astra nodded, her starry eyes twinkling. Then let's start there. Many of these galactic relations have deep historical roots. If we frame them as stories, perhaps they'll be easier for you to remember. As Astra began weaving tales of ancient alien conflicts and alliances, Jake found himself drawn in. Suddenly, the dry facts and figures began to take on new meaning. He could see the characters, feel the tension of their struggles, understand the motivations behind their actions. Hours passed, and as the Seattle skyline lit up with the colors of sunset, Jake realized he had absorbed more information about galactic politics than he had in days of conventional study. "This is amazing," he exclaimed, excitement bubbling up inside him. "I never thought I'd say this, but galactic politics is actually fascinating." Zyrelia, despite herself, looked impressed. Well, it seems a human might have some potential after all." As the impromptu lesson wound down, Jake's stomach growled loudly. Looney's face lit up, quite literally. "Oh, I've been experimenting with your earth ingredients. Would you like to try my latest creation?" Before anyone could warn him, Jake found himself presented with a bowl of something. It glowed faintly and seemed to be moving. What exactly is this?" he asked, trying to keep the apprehension out of his voice. "I call it cosmic chowder," Looney beamed. "It's a fusion of earth clan chowder and Andromedian slime fungus. Very nutritious." Jake paled slightly, but not wanting to offend, bravely took a spoonful. To his surprise, it wasn't terrible. Weird, certainly, but not unpleasant. "It's interesting," he managed, causing Looney to pulse with joy. As they all gathered around the table to share this unusual meal, Jake felt a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the glowing chowder. For the first time since this crazy adventure began, he felt like he might actually belong in this strange new world. The moment was interrupted by a sharp beeping from a device on Sarah's wrist. Her tentacles stiffened as she read the incoming message. "We have a problem," she announced, her voice grave. "The Galactic Council is demanding to meet the new heir immediately." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Jake swallowed hard, suddenly feeling very small and very human. "But I'm not ready," he whispered. Astra placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her touch cool and soothing. "Ready or not, Jake Foster, it's time for you to step onto the galactic stage." As the princesses bustled around, preparing for their unexpected journey, Jake stood at the window, looking out at the familiar Seattle skyline. In a matter of days, he would be leaving not just his city, but his planet, venturing into the depths of space to face a council of alien leaders. He thought of his little bookstore, of the life he'd left behind. Part of him longed for that simplicity again. But as he turned to watch the princesses, his mentors, his advisors, and dare he say, his friends, he felt a surge of determination. He might not be the heir they expected, or the leader the galaxy wanted, but he was the one they got. And somehow, someway, he was going to make this work. As the first stars became visible in the darkening sky, Jake Foster, reluctant heir to an alien empire, took a deep breath and prepared to face his destiny. The sleek Interstellar cruiser glided silently through the star-studded void, its elegant design a stark contrast to the clunky Earth satellites it passed. Inside, Jake Foster paced nervously, his reflection distorted in the ship's curved windows. "Stop fidgeting," Princess Zyrelia chided, her scales shimmering with annoyance. "You're supposed to be the heir to a vast empire, not a jittery Zilophian in mating season." Jake tugged at the collar of his new ceremonial robes, a blend of Earth fashion and alien textiles that seemed to shift and flow with his movements. "I can't help it. In a few hours, I'll be standing before the Galactic Council. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I accidentally start an interstellar war?" Princess Styra's tentacles formed complex patterns that translated to exasperation in her native language. "That's why we're here, human. To prevent you from making a complete fool of yourself and us." Princess Looney bounced over, her skin pulsing with excited colors. "Oh, don't be so gloomy. This is exciting." Jake gets to meet all the important leaders of the galaxy. It's like a big space party. A party where the fate of civilizations hangs in the balance, Astra added softly, her starry eyes fixed on the approaching space station that housed the Galactic Council. As their ship docked, Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The princesses flanked him as they disembarked, a united front facing the curious and sometimes hostile gazes of the alien dignitaries gathered to witness the arrival of King Zulam's chosen heir. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was a marvel of cosmic architecture. Its domed ceiling seemed to contain entire nebulae, and the floor beneath their feet shimmered like the surface of an alien sea. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions filled the tiered seating around a central podium. As Jake approached the podium, he felt the weight of countless eyes upon him. Some curious, some skeptical, some openly hostile. He cleared his throat, trying to remember all the lessons and protocols he'd been taught. "Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "I am Jake Foster of Earth, chosen heir of King Zulam the Infinite. I stand before you today. This is an outrage." The booming voice interrupted. A massive, gelatinous being oozed forward, its multiple eyes bulging with indignation. "The Celestial Empire cannot be ruled by a primitive species." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Jake felt his confidence wavering, but then he felt a gentle touch on his arm. Princess Astra stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "Ambassador Glox," she addressed the gelatinous being, "need I remind you that it was not so long ago that your own species was considered primitive by galactic standards? Yet look at the technological marvels the Blobians have since contributed to our shared civilization." The ambassador quivered, whether in embarrassment or anger, it was hard to tell. Before he could respond, another voice rang out. "The princess speaks wisely," said a shimmering, ethereal being that seemed to be made of pure light. "We should not judge based on appearances or technological advancement alone. Tell us, Jake Foster of Earth, why should we accept you as the heir to the greatest empire in the galaxy?" Jake felt all eyes turn to him once more. In that moment, he realized that no amount of coaching or memorized speeches could save him now. He had to be himself. "The truth is," he began, his voice gaining strength, "I don't know if you should accept me. I'm not a seasoned diplomat or a brilliant scientist. Until a few weeks ago, I was just a bookstore owner from Seattle. But what I am is a lover of stories, a believer in the power of understanding different perspectives." He gestured to the diverse array of beings before him. "Look at this council. Each of you represents a unique culture, a unique way of seeing the universe. In my short time as heir, I've learned that the greatest strength of the Celestial Empire lies not in its technology or its military might, but in its diversity." Jake's words seemed to resonate through the chamber. Even the most skeptical council members leaned forward, intrigued. "I may not have the knowledge or experience that many of you do," Jake continued, "but I have an open mind and a willingness to learn. With the guidance of the princesses and the wisdom of this council, I believe we can lead the Celestial Empire into a new era of cooperation and understanding." As Jake finished speaking, a moment of silence fell over the chamber. Then, slowly, a ripple of approval began to spread. It wasn't universal acceptance, but it was a start. The ethereal being who had questioned Jake earlier floated forward. "Well spoken, Jake Foster of Earth. You have much to learn, but perhaps you also have much to teach us." As the council session continued, Jake found himself engaged in discussions and debates on topics ranging from interstellar trade agreements to the ethics of terraforming. To his surprise, he found that his outsider perspective often brought fresh insights to age-old problems. Hours later, as they returned to their ship, Jake felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had survived his first Galactic Council meeting, and dare he say it, he might have even made a positive impression. Princess Sorelia, her scales glowing with an emotion Jake couldn't quite identify, turned to him. Well, human, it seems you might not be a complete embarrassment after all. Coming from Zorelia, it was high praise indeed. As their ship prepared to depart, Jake gazed out at the vast expanse of space before them. He had taken his first steps into a larger universe, and while the path ahead was uncertain, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did he know that his greatest test was yet to come, one that would shake the very foundations of the Celestial Empire and force Jake to confront the true meaning of leadership. The Celestial Palace on Nexus Prime hummed with an undercurrent of tension. Jake Foster, still adjusting to his role as heir to the Empire, sat in a strategy meeting with his alien mentors. The atmosphere was heavy, a far cry from the cautious optimism that had followed his debut at the Galactic Council. Princess Syra's tentacles danced nervously as she projected a holographic map of the Empire. Red spots pulsed ominously across its expanse. "The situation is worse than we feared," she announced grimly. "Rebellions are breaking out in multiple sectors." Jake leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "But why? I thought things were going well after the council meeting." Princess Aurelia's scales flickered with a mix of annoyance and concern. It seems not everyone is thrilled with the idea of a human heir. Some see it as a sign of weakness in the Empire. "There's more," Princess Astra added, her starry eyes dimming slightly. "We've received intelligence that suggests these rebellions are being coordinated. Someone is working behind the scenes to destabilize the Empire." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had known his position would be challenging, but he hadn't expected outright rebellion. "What do we do?" he asked, looking to each of the princesses in turn. Princess Lumi, usually bubbly and optimistic, was uncharacteristically somber. "We need to act fast. If we don't quell these rebellions quickly, we could be looking at a full-scale civil war." As they debated strategies, a royal guard burst into the room. "Your Highnesses, we've just received word. Earth is under attack." Jake's heart nearly stopped. "What? How? Why?" The guard's exoskeleton clicked nervously. "It seems the rebels believe that by threatening your homeworld, they can force you to abdicate." In that moment, everything changed. This was no longer just about politics or Jake's position. His home, his planet, was in danger. "We need to go to Earth," Jake declared, surprising even himself with the authority in his voice. Now, the journey back to Earth was tense. As their ship entered the solar system, they could see the signs of battle. Rebel ships clashed with the Earth Defense Fleet, a hastily assembled force of retrofitted human vessels and loyal Imperial ships. "They're outgunned," Princess Syra observed grimly. "Earth's technology is no match for advanced rebel weaponry." Jake watched in horror as explosions blossomed in Earth's orbit. This was his fault. His people were suffering because of him. But then something unexpected happened. As their ship approached, they intercepted transmissions from the surface. People weren't cowering in fear. They were fighting back. Makeshift militias coordinated with professional armies. Scientists worked around the clock to adapt alien tech to Earth's defenses. Artists and writers rallied morale with stirring works of resistance. "Impossible," Princess Zorelia whispered, her scales shimmering with disbelief. "How are they holding out against such overwhelming odds?" Jake felt a swell of pride. "That's humanity for you. We may be technologically behind, but we're resilient. We don't give up easily." As they watched, a plan began to form in Jake's mind. "We need to turn this around," he said. "Not just save Earth, but show the galaxy what humans are capable of." Over the next few days, Jake and the princesses worked tirelessly. They coordinated with Earth's leaders, shared advanced technology, and devised strategies to repel the rebel forces. Jake's unique perspective, part human, part galactic leader, proved invaluable. In a bold move, Jake decided to broadcast a message to the entire Empire. Standing before a backdrop of Earth's battle-scared but unbroken cities, he addressed not just his allies, but the rebels as well. "I know many of you fear change," he began. "You see a human heir as a threat to the old ways. But look at what humanity has accomplished in the face of overwhelming odds. We may be young in galactic terms, but we have something valuable to offer: adaptability, creativity, and an indomitable spirit. He gestured to the scenes of human resilience behind him. This is the strength I want to bring to our empire, not to replace what we have, but to enhance it, to face our challenges with new perspectives and unite our diverse peoples in ways we've never imagined. As Jake's words spread across the galaxy, something remarkable began to happen. The tide of the battle started to turn. Inspired by Earth's resistance and Jake's vision, loyalist forces rallied. Some rebel factions, moved by the display of human tenacity, began to question their cause. In the midst of the chaos, Jake made a risky decision. He offered to meet with the rebel leaders face to face, unarmed, to negotiate peace. The princesses protested vehemently, but Jake stood firm. "This is why your father chose me," he told them. "Not because I'm the strongest or the smartest, but because I'm willing to take risks for peace." As Jake prepared for the meeting that could determine the fate of the Empire, he couldn't help but reflect on how far he'd come. From a simple bookstore owner to a galactic leader facing his greatest challenge yet. Whatever happened next, he was ready to face it head-on. Little did Jake know that this meeting would not only decide the future of the Empire, but would also reveal a shocking truth that would shake the foundations of everything he thought he knew about his role in the galaxy. The rebel flagship loomed before Jake's shuttle, its imposing silhouette a stark reminder of the stakes at hand. As he prepared to board, Jake felt the weight of countless lives, human and alien, resting on his shoulders. "Are you sure about this?" Princess Astra asked, her starry eyes filled with concern. Jake nodded, a wry smile on his face. "No, but it's the right thing to do." As he stepped onto the rebel ship, Jake was immediately surrounded by a diverse group of aliens, their weapons trained on him. At their center stood a figure that made Jake's heart skip a beat. It was King Xylon himself, or at least, someone who looked remarkably like him. "Welcome, Jake Foster," the king's doppelganger said, his voice a perfect mimicry of Xylon's cosmic timbre. "I've been looking forward to this meeting." "Who are you?" Jake demanded, his mind racing. "Why are you impersonating King Xylon?" The figure chuckled, his form shimmering before resolving into a new shape, a being of swirling mist and twinkling lights. "I am Chiron, Xylon's twin brother, the true heir to the celestial throne." Over the next hour, Chiron revealed a tale of betrayal and deception that spanned millennia. He had been exiled by Xylon centuries ago for attempting to seize the throne. Now he had returned, using the controversy over Jake's appointment to sow discord and rebellion. "But why choose me?" Jake asked, still struggling to process the revelation. "Why go through all this charade?" Chiron's misty form swirled thoughtfully. "At first, it was merely a ploy to destabilize the Empire. But as I watched you, I saw something unexpected. You may be human, Jake Foster, but you possess a quality that many in our empire have forgotten: the ability to unite diverse peoples, to find strength in differences." Jake's mind whirled with the implications. So all of this, the attacks, the rebellion, it was a test. "In a way," Chiron admitted, "I needed to see how you would handle a true crisis, and you've exceeded all expectations." Just then, alarms blared throughout the ship. On the view screens, they could see the combined fleet of Earth and Imperial loyalists approaching. Leading the charge were the 4 princesses, their ships forming a protective formation around a central vessel. "It seems your allies have come to your rescue," Chiron observed dryly. Jake stood tall, facing the being who had orchestrated this galactic crisis. "They're not just my allies, they're my friends, my mentors. We've been through too much together to let it end like this." In that moment, Jake made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "Chiron, you say you've seen the potential in humanity. Why fight against it? Why not work with us to build a better empire?" Chiron's misty form flickered with surprise. "You would offer peace, even after all I've done?" Jake nodded firmly. That's what leadership is about. Not holding grudges, but finding ways to move forward together. As the Loyalist fleet surrounded the rebel flagship, Jake opened a channel to all ships. He explained the situation and, to everyone's shock, proposed a radical solution: a shared leadership. Zyron would be welcomed back, his knowledge and experience valuable assets to the Empire. Jake would continue as heir, bringing his unique human perspective, and the princesses would play crucial roles in this new galactic order. The following days were a whirlwind of negotiations, explanations, and reconciliations. To Jake's relief and surprise, his proposal was met with cautious optimism from most quarters. The galaxy, it seemed, was ready for change. Months later, as Jake stood on the balcony of the Celestial Palace, looking out at the glittering expanse of Nexus Prime, he marveled at how far he'd come. The bookstore owner from Seattle was now a key figure in galactic politics, respected by allies and former enemies alike. Princess Cerelia approached, her scales shimmering with an emotion Jake had learned to recognize as pride. "You've done well, human," she said, a smile in her voice. "Father would be proud." "We've all done well," Jake corrected her gently. "This is just the beginning." As if on cue, the other princesses joined them, along with Atlaron and representatives from dozens of worlds. They gathered around a holographic display of the galaxy, discussing plans for new trade routes, cultural exchanges, and scientific collaborations. Jake looked at the diverse group around him, beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions, working together towards a common goal. This, he realized, was the true strength of the Empire. Not its technology or its military might, but its ability to bring together the best of countless worlds. As the twin suns of Nexus Prime set, painting the sky in hues no earthly sunset could match, Jake Foster, once a simple bookstore owner, now a leader of a galactic empire, felt a sense of purpose and belonging he'd never known before. The universe, vast and full of wonders, stretched out before them, and together they would explore it not as conquerors, but as curious, cooperative neighbors in the cosmic community. As night fell and the stars came out, Jake couldn't help but smile. His greatest adventure, he knew, was just beginning.